What's up, guys? Welcome back to Cool Fred's Garage. So, still working on the 1978 Malibu Classic. This thing is almost ready to fire up, but I got a couple more things I need to do, which is put the coolant in, and then I need to get the cooling system filled up. So, I'm gonna show you guys that process today. All right, so I'm down to one coolant hose that I need to install on this thing, and that's the upper radiator hose that goes from right here to right there to the outlet. So this right here is like an adjustable water net from Spectar. So pretty much I just need to kind of just figure out where I need to have it pointing at. I think it's very close, and then I can tighten down those I think they 8mm or 5/16 Allen bolts. So get that secured down. But I'm gonna show you guys this coolant hose. So pretty much while working on the car, because I was gonna already have this coolant hose installed, but about a couple weeks ago I found out that the coolant hose that I had was too, well, it wasn't the right hose. It was pretty much like a lower hose for another application. It had a 2-inch end on one end, which would typically go to the water pump, and then it had an 1.5 inch on the other end. But this right here has 2.5 inch ends. It may be a little long, but I can kind of make it work. I probably got to shave it down a little bit on the other end here. So so pretty much it's gonna sit something like this. This is a factory style hose. We were gonna try to find a flexible hose, but it does fit right there, and then it will kind of fit over here. But you know, you can see I got a little area where I can kind of bend it or whatever, but so it don't look too crazy, I'm gonna have to clock this around about there, and then I probably have to shave it just a little bit, maybe somewhere right in there, to make this thing work 100%. So I guess I'm gonna go ahead and get the water net tightened down somewhere right in there, because that look like the best, so it don't have too much of a bend right in here. So I got a little bit of flex, but you know what I'm saying, I don't want it to flex over too much. So say something about right in there should be straight. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that snugged down. All right, so I just got that water net tightened down with that right there, so that's nice and secure, and that's the angle that it's gonna be at. And pretty much what I did while this hose was over there, I kind of marked where I need to shave it off at. So I'm gonna trim that off with one of those little knives, razor blade type deal. So let me see if I can find that joker real quick. All right, so this right here is what I'm gonna use to shave that hose, trim it off, and then I'm gonna put that bad boy on there. All right, so got that coolant hose installed. So that's pretty much one of the last pieces that I had to put on this bad boy to complete this swap. There's one more thing I got to do, which is get the tack installed on the inside. But so this is just the hose, I believe, from AutoZone. That right there. Let me see if you zoom in on the part number there. Takes a while. Takes a few seconds for my camera to focus, but that's that part number right there for the hose. And the clamps we were using, these are from Summit Racing Comp, I guess ZX. So that's that part number right there. So I didn't even know Comp Cams made hose clamps, but these are some real good sturdy clamps that we got. So I got these. I got several clamps from Comp Cams on this car. All right, so what I'm using to fill the cooling system is this, they call it like a vacuum fill, but this one right here is by AirLift. So I'm gonna use this to get the coolant in the engine. So what it does is it's gonna basically pull a vacuum on the system, and it's got real good instructions in there, but some of the coolant over the years have kind of gotten on here and caused some of the instructions to be a little bit shaky. But so pretty much I'm basically I got my air compressor fired up there. It's off now, but I had to make sure I get the tank full of air, because I'm about to hook this up and I'm gonna pull a vacuum This particular one right here has 2 hoses in it. So this right here is for pulling the vacuum on the system, and then this other one is the one basically you'll shut the valve off, and you'll hook your other hose up, and you'll fill the cooling system with coolant. So right now, the reason I like this system, a couple ways. Like you can fill the cooling system real quickly. Like I would say in less than 2 minutes, probably quicker than that. Like, you know what I'm saying, minute and a half, you got the cooling system filled. But another thing is you can also check for leaks. So typically, because this right here, this build right here, pretty much everything in the cooling system is new. So got a new radiator, upper lower radiator hose, the heater hoses. It's got a new heater core in there. So this is going to allow me to check for leaks at the same time. So the way I'm able to do that is basically, if I put this thing under a vacuum, if it holds a vacuum, I would say for a minimum of 2 minutes. But you know what I'm saying, sometimes I may do it for 5 minutes, but 2 minutes you're good. So if you don't have anything leaking and it holds that vacuum, then you're good to put the coolant in there. You know, you don't have any leaks. Alright, so here we go. I'm about to get this thing connected. So basically I just set it down in there. I got my vacuum hose connected, and what I like to do is just kind of, because sometimes you get like a little residue or a little like coolant mist that may shoot out the other end of it. So I like to kind of tuck it down behind the fender or somewhere like that. But so pretty much what I'm gonna do, I'm not sure if it's on or off. It may be, well, I think that's off. So I'm just gonna connect my air from the air compressor. And as it goes along, you can see the gauge is gonna go down. So what I'm waiting on is for the gauge to go in the green. And as he's pulling the vacuum on the system, you can tell like some of the hose, this upper radiator hose claps down. All right, guys, so I ran into a problem when trying to put the cooling system under a vacuum. I don't know if you guys noticed, but while looking at the gauge, basically it wouldn't pull more than 15 inches of vacuum. And it did pull some vacuum, because you saw the coolant hoses and stuff like that collapse down. But pretty much what's supposed to happen is you're supposed to be able to get the vacuum down in the green area on the gauge here, which is anywhere pretty much between 23 to 27, but I like to try to get them between 25 and 27 into the green. And then when you shut the valve, like when you close the valve, you disconnect your air supply, it's supposed to be able to hold a vacuum. So it was holding the vacuum slightly, but it was slowly going down, and I could see that I had a leak somewhere in the engine. So I needed to figure out where that leak was. So what I did, I put a little bit of coolant in the engine, just a little bit, and using this cone from the AirLift kit, I was able to put a little bit of compressed air to it, which I use this right here. It's like a little air blower, but it has like the perfect round tip, so I can kind of put in here and just put like right there, and I can just put a little pressure in it. And I figured out where my leak was coming from, which is right here. So this water pump gasket here. So on the CVF belt kit, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to get this water pump pulled back a little bit so I can see what the problem is, and I'll see, you know, if it's something that I did when it comes to that gasket or whatever. So but I got another set of gaskets to put on there. Alright, so I got the water pump back. So this particular vehicle right here got the CVF belt drive kit, and so basically what I was able to do is just remove the spacers one by one and put the bolts in and kind of slide it back. I pretty much want to just see like where the source of the leak was and what was going on. So you can kind of see certain areas there where the water pump gasket just kind of, you know, tore apart or whatever. Cause you can see I got the RTV around there and everything glued up. I mean, that's how I normally install these. I just put a little bit of RTV gasket sealer around there, but the leak was over here on this side. But I guess that these gaskets that come with this water pump from this particular supplier that they use, these gaskets are they're just kind of thin gaskets, paper thin. So I'm gonna replace those gaskets with these Velcro right here. So once I kind of saw where it was leaking from, I figured, you know, it was a problem with the gasket or something like that. So I'm gonna clean everything up and I'm gonna install these Velcro gaskets here and seal it up and get it back together. And hopefully that's gonna solve our problem. All right, so what I did to kind of protect the power steering pulley and stuff like that, so I'm gonna have to remove the pump from the bracket and all that stuff. And I got a fender cover there. So I was able to remove the water pump and then kind of just set the bracket down in there. So I got the water pump out, but pretty much just these gaskets on here, they just not good quality that come with this kit. You kind of see where the gaskets basically, the paper gasket just kind of, they kind of separated from each other right there. So one thing I noticed that like these Velcro gaskets, which I'm very familiar with those over the years, using those, they're just kind of made of a different material versus like some type of weak paper. So definitely if I do another one of these CVF belt drives kits, I'm definitely going to use like Velcro or some better gaskets. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing cleaned up and get it back on there. So I was gonna pretty much just try to get everything cleaned up while I had it kind of slid back, but I was just like, man, to save time, I'm just gonna pull this water pump on off of here. And this water pump right here is a lightweight aluminum pump, so it's not really hard to get out. It just kind of sucks that I had to I didn't have to pull everything completely apart, but I did have to pull the main bracket support to get this water pump out. All right, so I'm back with an update. So I had some issues in the cooling system here. So that's pretty much what you want. After a couple minutes, you want this vacuum gauge to remain in the green. After about 2 minutes. So pretty much the problem I had was I had to take the water pump back off, replace those gaskets, and reseal it. And I actually had to do it another time, a second time. So I had to pull this thing down twice. I'm not sure if it's something particularly with the water pump or the I know that those gaskets were pretty cheap. That those type of gaskets they use were pretty cheap. But put some RTV blue on there and all along, because it was like the lower edge pretty much between the gasket and the water pump that was leaking. So I pretty much got it squared away. So it's holding vacuum and it's staying in the green. The gauge is moving a little slightly because I normally use this tool on BMWs, and they have a different type of expansion tank and stuff like that. So a lot of the European cars, sometimes you can have a little bit. You can probably, just the way this cone is, because it fits in these radiator. On these regular radiators a little bit different, so I'm probably losing like a little bit, but I went through and basically tightened up everything, like the water neck, all the hoses, and I double checked a lot of the plugs, like the block off plugs. Checked a lot of that stuff out, so everything's looking good. It's holding vacuum. That's the main thing. So I'm gonna be able to successfully fill the cooling system. So that was pretty much what this video is about, getting the cooling system filled. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna swap this out right here, and I'm gonna go ahead and prepare to show you guys how easy it is to fill the cooling system with this type of setup. All right, so once you got this thing under a vacuum and it's holding vacuum pretty good, you're gonna take your coolant. You're gonna take your coolant jug, open it up, and I've already switched to my other hose, my filling hose here. So I'm gonna put that in the coolant, which you see right there, and I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing. So pretty much right here, that vacuum is pulling the coolant out of my jug into the engine. Basically the vacuum that's in there. You got to make sure you got your hose kind of down in the lower part there. And then as it fills up, you basically just shut your valve off, and see the remaining vacuum that's in there will still be in there. So you can pretty much get this thing filled all the way up. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna switch over to my other jug. All right, I got my other jug, so I'm just gonna let it fill up the rest of the way. All right, so a lot of times what I wind up doing is pretty much until your hose unclaps, or when you get down between 3 and 5 psi, that's usually when I stop it. But I'm gonna let it go a little bit more. And that upper radiator hose is just starting to get flat. And then I can remove this, and we can see what it's looking like. In some cases you still gotta add just a little bit more in there. All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm checking the coolant level in the radiator, and you can kind of see it may be a little, you can kind of see where it's at, but pretty much the cooling system is probably around about 90 to 95% filled. The radiator is probably filled to this level right here. So probably maybe just a little bit more coolant, and I can just sit here and just top that off right here the rest of the way. But in most cases you can get the system majority filled. So I got this thing, let's see. So right now it's about right there. So I'll probably fill it up just a little bit more. But then my customer, he's got to buy a little bit more coolant. He needs to put a little bit maybe in the reservoir. It's about right there. But using the vacuum filler kind of help you determine, like, if you got a leak or if you got something going on, and you can do that before you actually put the coolant in the motor. So that kind of saves you time and coolant and stuff like that, because you don't want to start pouring coolant in and then you realize, and then in some cases you actually got to start the engine up to let it circulate, but then, you know, once you get it up and running, you find out you have a leak. So rule of thumb, if it's not holding the vacuum, then you got a leak somewhere. And a lot of times you'll hear it hissing, or you'll hear, like, basically it's trying to suck back out. You can kind of tell what the area is in. But if you do find that you got a leak, then you can put a little bit of water or coolant in there, just a little bit, maybe about half a quart or about a quart in there, and you can put just a little bit of pressure on it, and you can figure out where it's coming from. So in my case, I found out that it was coming from around that water pump gasket down there, and I was able to get that resealed and retested and found that it's holding vacuum just fine. So that's pretty much the video for today, just showing you guys how to vacuum fill your cooling system. Another thing is I've never had that particular leak. I'm not sure if it's just something with this particular water pump, or maybe the way this belt drive is, because your bolts for this system, it goes through some spacers and then goes through the block. So I'm not sure if that had an effect on it, or I'm not sure if this the supplier of the water pump. But I got it straightened out. But I was just thinking to myself, man, all these years of putting water pumps on small block Chevys and putting the gaskets in, I never had that type of leak right there. But I guess something pops up every now and again. I guess, I'm not sure. So I'm not sure if anybody else is having that type of issue with these CVL belt drives and the water pumps. I'm not sure. So I guess if so, then just put something down in the comments if you had any weird type leaks out of those water pump gaskets. But so this thing is almost ready to fire up. Last thing I need to do is just put the tack in here. So I got a few more I got to put this cover on for the water pump and put the cover on for the tensioner. So I'm gonna do that. But thank you guys for checking out Cool Fred's Garage. We're gonna catch you on the next video.